Aloha. I wanted to share a book with you, and also I just got this book. I gave my last copy away, and I just ordered it again, and I forgot about this one quote that's in here that I'll read in a second. It's a short book. It's a chapter. I don't read as much, or I don't read too much at all right now, because I'm just mostly just open to how I'm perceiving the moment and what's going on in an individual space and a collective space. And also what I wanted to do is kind of like set the tone for people who haven't really experienced or seen any of my videos. And even if you have and you thought any kind of certain way, I'm not doing these videos or anything like this or sharing this information to put any blame on anybody. Like I said in previous videos, I'm mainly sharing information to expand upon the storyline of separation and the haves and have-nots. And yes, it does have, when you zero in on it, it does have particular players in that story, characters, definite history, definite truths, definite information that connects to here and there. Any guilt that comes from the information itself is not intended in the sharing of the information. Any kind of side effects that come from the information about flat earth or transhumanism, the Mandela effect, CERN, any of that stuff is not the intention to do that, but mainly just to share to expand, so that we can all expand. Because this is an outlet for me, but it's also like an input for me, because I'm learning at the same time. As I share, I'm expanding myself and answering questions that I might not have answered or asked before in the moment, or even just in a flow, however that may be, and other people can go with it. So like when I share like this, before the arrival of the white man, there were no locks on our doors, no private property, no sense of possession, no beggars, no jails, no police, no hunger, no banks, no money currency, no rich or poor, and no pollution. Yet they claimed we were uncivilized. See, when I share that, some people take that personally, or they feel some kind of guilt if you are so-called white or Caucasian or whatever. The intention is not there. The intention is to share basic information in reference to the separation program as a whole, zeroed into the haves and the have-nots. This is not about the artificial ego. That's the side effect of this whole storyline. That's the glorification of it. So when I talk about like white privilege or the supremacy program as a whole, it's not to like blame any one thing. That's just the most obvious layer right now, when you can see that, you know, kids are being shot on the street by, like, black kids, so-called black kids are being shot by white men, police officers on the streets. Basic math, this is happening. This has been happening for so long. This is a side effect to the slavery program. It's a side effect to the supremacy program. It's a side effect to the separation program as a whole. That's basically what my intention is to start to unravel and unveil what has gone on. And the more that we individually start to do that from our own perspective. So like we have like Mexican people or black people or Brazilians or whoever, whatever it is, Aboriginal people, it doesn't matter. When you share your story from your perspective and you're speaking about the same thing, that adds light to the entire story. By not talking about these stories, so when people feel guilt, instead of transmuting that information, understanding it, and sharing it from a perspective of expansion. See, guilt is a closed program. Guilt closes the heart chakra. Guilt is what shuts everything down. This is why Catholicism passes down that God-fearing and that you're born in sin and that whole thing. Excuse me. Guilt is a big problem. And when you have the supremacy program now expanded to white privilege and all that other stuff, it's when you zero it down into the individual, you can see that it shuts people out from seeing information as a whole. Like, this is basic information for this picture, this image right here. Basic information, history that happened to the indigenous people in the Americas, the Aboriginal people of Australia, the indigenous people all over the earth plane through the colonization program, based upon largely the separation from spirit, the separation program to divide and conquer. And when you speak on those issues, basic historical facts that exist, and people feel guilty about it or whatever and turn away, that's also part of the program. That's not a side effect. That is an intention of the design as a whole, because that's how the individuals within the system, who are no separate, who are no different than the other have-nots, because the haves are the tiny group of individuals who are part of this insider psychological separation program, the colonization program as a whole. When you have other have-nots defending and in fact fighting for the haves who don't give one shit about the overall have-nots, that is the intention of the program as a whole. And that's what's happening right now. And this is why I share information. So when people take it personally and all that other stuff, like, it hurts to hear the words white man. Like, it brings up automatically. It's just like, oh, I don't want to hear that stuff. Well, like that, there's a issue there. You have to look at these things, because you hear black man all the time, and you hear the connotation that has on the news, on like the movies, on the music scene, everywhere. It has this idea, this feel, there's a flavor there. So these flavors of interaction definitely have side effects to them. They have intention. And while I share this is basically how I perceive my reality, so how I taste my reality with these different flavors, and being a so-called mixed individual, Mexican and Aboriginal American, or what people call black, there's this whole world that I've experienced that not many other people have experienced, because I was never Mexican enough for the Mexican crew, and I was never black enough for the black crew, and I'm light-skinned too, what people call light-skinned, so that's a whole nother world. So there's all these worlds that I perceive, that I've experienced, and have been in the military for 7 years, been in there, got out, did the school thing, been in the Occupy protest, did all that stuff. Now coming back to myself and starting to unveil these stories, not just for me, the individual, but for the entire collective as a whole. The layers of flavors that exist are obvious to me, because I've had to experience this since I've been a kid. So if I can share that, then I'm going to share that, because it'll help with stuff like this image not happening. Like this image, this image is a side effect to the beginnings of Columbus. This is all the Columbian, post-Columbian era, the colonization program, the extension of the British Empire, the exterminating of the indigenous people. Don't see it that way, because there's the strength within the mainstream media, the university system, the distraction program as a whole is so vibrant. We don't see it as clearly as other people experience it every day, because we're heavily distracted, dumbed down, locked into density as a whole. And when you're inside the box, it's difficult to see. So I've been in many boxes. I've been in the public education system box, the so-called higher education box, in the military box, in the protest box, in the understanding of race box and that divide and conquer program. All these are boxes that we get comfortable in. And as long as you get comfortable in there and you stay there, then that energy that you are starts to fester. Your soul starts to fester because you get out of line with the ever expanding journey that you are. So once you think you've got it, if you stay in that, oh, I got it, that's it. If you stay in that space and don't challenge the I got it space, then you're going to start to gain weight. And that weight is density, because you'll have to defend that weight. And that's how you get bigger in one world. You get locked into one reality. And it's so far gone that it's manifested down to our physical reality, that so much so that people are so heavy on every level that it manifests into our physical world, where you have these individuals who are just locked down psychologically with density and physically with density, and it's killing. And you have the opposite of that, where people are dying of starvation and dying of dehydration and killing each other, sending their kids to go kill each other. And there's definite storylines that you can see that this is linking back to. And it's right beneath all the stuff that we understand as pride and all that stuff. Like, it's the upside down and backwards versions of the energy systems that we exist as. So your root chakra, your connection to nature, is completely destroyed when you're okay with this. When you vote for politicians or legislature that does stuff like this. Or even when you don't know any of your history. In fact, you're okay with the destruction of other people's history. That's destroying your root chakra. When you're bombarded by the sexualization of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and the emasculization of the divine masculine, and the masculinization of the divine feminine, this is how this whole works. The whole thing works. This is why the gym is such a big deal. This is why beauty products and movie and the idea of beauty is such a big deal in the mainstream media, because it narrows down those boxes. These boxes get smaller and smaller. And if you don't fit into those boxes, you'll get some kind of girdle or something and suck yourself into those boxes. You'll dye your hair to get into those boxes. You'll wear skinny jeans and cut off your damn circulation to get in these boxes. You'll do whatever it takes to be a part of a box that is not your own. And that's by design. Meanwhile, that's a distraction. Or meanwhile, the nature of it all, your soul, your essence, your brothers and sisters are being systematically slaughtered and destroyed on a regular basis. And since this machine is so huge and the story is the tentacles of the story are so vast, we don't know where to start or what to do. But there's so much, and then when we stop there, and then a lot of times we get comfortable with just yelling and all that other kind of stuff, when we can never stop. It's an ever expanding process. So when you are consistently expanding, then other people are consistently expanding along with you. You might not see it, you might not hear it, you might not experience it at all, but it's happening. Because we are connected forever. It's not one individual. We're not separated like we see it. So everything that you read, everything that you hear, everything that you understand is helping the entire whole. This is one consciousness on one level, one soul. If you can trace every soul back to the Most High, and you can understand that we are a part of the creative and destructive intelligence experiencing this place with the illusion of free will, and constantly trying to understand what this whole reality is, then you can understand that on one very obvious level, we are very connected to each other in the ethers on the soul level. It's like Jiddu Krishnamurti said, compassion means to have passion for all things. not just between two people, but for all human beings, for all things of the earth, the animals, the trees, everything the earth contains. When we have such compassion, we will not despoil the earth as we are doing now, and we will have no wars. So just as much as this is a collective issue, so when people ask, oh, what do we do? What are the solutions and all that other stuff? We haven't placed ourselves in the position to even consider what to do yet. We still got a lot of inner work and individual work before we start to think about collective work. And the more individual and inner work that we do, it'll make that collective work more vibrant, more effective, less energy spending. Right now, we're still trying to undo what has been done to maintain this system as a whole, the separation program as a whole. It hasn't gone away. It's only changed its face, changed the title. Slavery never ended. See, people got comfortable with the American dream. People got comfortable with technology and comfortable with the industrial age and comfortable with jobs, not realizing that that's slavery. This is all slavery. Not realizing that this is still other people's land. Not realizing that the colonial program is still expanding. Not realizing that the fiat currency system is a slave program. Not realizing that the maritime admiralty system is a soul plane slave program. These are pirates. So once we start to expand on that space and start to realize, like I said, this is not meant to share guilt or anything, or make people feel guilty. This is to help us get past that guilt phase and get into the understanding, and overstanding of what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen when we start to get engaged in this reality outside of our emotions and the limitations of the box that get placed out in front of us to experience, to further destroy ourselves and our brothers and sisters. So this is from a book called The Brotherhood of Angels and of Men by Geoffrey Hodson. This is the book I wanted to share with you. This is the chapter 4. There is too much satisfaction with that which is not the highest, and not enough readiness to aim higher and higher still in all things that are done. Even in the pleasant talk of friends, there should always be upheld the ideal that thought and word and deed should be the highest. Because this is not so, the keen edge of heart and mind is blunted. The sense of greatness falls away. Lesser things come in to clog the soul, delaying its progress on the path. These things should not be, need not be. Even little things are great for those who continually aspire. Make something great of all things. The walk, the drive, the fireside talk, all the household ways, all your earthly obligations, your pleasures and your pains, your strivings and your times of ease. Let them be great, the greatest that so far has dawned within you, the highest you can reach. So this is basically an example of like the inner work, being able to cherish every moment, even experience the moment, and cherish the little things that are with us, because it's these little details that actually make up the essence of who and what we really are. If we just take everything for granted by being distracted by what the separation program has presented for us, then we're truly missing out on ourselves and locking into a physical lockdown. So this is one of my favorite books, and I just opened up and it triggered me to share this next image right here, because I remember when I first read this book a little over a year ago, because this book was actually recommended to me through a talk that I heard Sun Ra. If you haven't checked out Sun Ra yet, heavy duty dude from back in the day. He's got a lot of stuff on YouTube. Musician, really out there in a way, but very tuned in individual, especially for his time. He had been doing things in like the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and 60s. He's not alive anymore now, but he had a lot of information that was out there that helped a lot of people, helped me out, and some people might, take some of his perspectives or some of the things he say a certain way, to each his own, but a lot of his information is spot on, and perspectives are spot on. And he actually recommended this book and some other books, but this book in particular stood out to me. And when I read it, it's a quick and easy read. You can get it on Amazon. Again, it's called The Brotherhood of Angels and of Men by Geoffrey Hodson. I'll link it in the description box for Amazon, because I recommend people check it out. But this image is in the front of the book, and I wanted to share it because the first time I saw it, I didn't really go into it. And right now, it was obvious to me that this, from how I perceive it, it is obvious to me as the makeup of the human being as a whole. So you can see like the as above, so below stuff, however you want to see it. But this is how I've been explaining things too at the same time. So you can see envision these as the chakras, as the layers of experience. So people come to this experience to do healing work, to do expansion work. Some people have root chakra work to do. Some people have sacral chakra to do. Some people have solar plexus work to do. Some people want to open their heart chakra and explore the higher chakras. Whatever it is, you are part of an experience, and if you're distracted and caught up in the reality that you think you're living in, which is the distraction world, then that's when you get off of your soul journey and get locked in to the world of form. So because the formless is who you actually are. That's the 99.99999 forever % of your existence, and the 0.0001% is your physical reality. This is how I perceive our reality, and we've been locked into this 0.0001% of our reality because the disembodied entities that exist within and around this earth plane can feast off of energy, pure energy. So your negative energy is also edible in a sense to disembodied entities. This is why the fear program and the manipulation of your emotions is so prevalent in your everyday reality, and expanded all the way until you have bombs being dropped and murders and just straight up lack of compassion on every level. But I wanted just to expand upon this, how I see this. So we have on the left, you can see the world of flesh, up to the world of feeling, up to the world of thought, up to the world of peace and joy, up to the world of unity, up to the world of creative power, and then above that, the rulers of the world, which I'm seeing as the crown chakra, and then the rulers of the world, which goes into like the creative intelligence spaces and the angels, the higher angel spaces, and us being a reflection locked into this bridge program, because underneath the world of flesh, like this body, the building angels, the next column over of the world of flesh, you see that's the building angels. And below this realm, this is how our bodies are divine. You cannot house a divine essence unless you have a divine vessel. And if it does work out like that, it won't be if you try to synthesize that in some kind of way, it will never work out to be what the organic space actually is. It'll max out on like fast food or genetically modified stuff. This is what the whole transhumanism program is about. This is what the globe model is, largely in reference to the psychological divinity, the psychological essence that you, the capabilities that you are, and how you perceive your reality. So if you're separate from your nature spirits, from your natural body, your earth body, then you will be separated from your maximum potentials in your divine vessel. This is largely how I'm seeing what is going on with the whole globe model programming. And right now, this is the disassembling of that system. And it's going to be difficult for a lot of individuals because people are comfortable. And when you disturb people who are comfortable, that's when people get uncomfortable and people don't want to be uncomfortable. So basically, we are at the beginning of the road, the baseline, the root structure of this road that is manifested as divine. Below this world of flesh, at the bottom, in the building angels and the brownie gnomes and our mortal solid cells on that bottom row, and on the overall on the right it says worlds of form, the unreal. Below this place is where those entities who have separated themselves completely, or severed that connection to this divine path, and this experience, that's where they dwell, in a sense, and they can only have any kind of experiences in reference to the world of flesh if we open up to that reality, which is basically how, by closing down our systems, our energy centers, to who and what we truly are. So when we close down our worlds of feeling, our worlds of thought, our worlds of peace and joy, our worlds of unity, our worlds of creative power, our worlds of creation and connection to the Most High and the angels, then we are creating a dense body that is actually opening up to the lower entities or the lower energies that take over. This is how you can have these beautiful beings not knowing that they're beautiful because they base their realities on somebody else or something else or some kind of artificial reality. This is what the design is based on completely. So the first row, I'm seeing the world of flesh is basically like the root chakra, and this is where the building angels are. So this is like the walking angels, or the earthbound, and your potential in this space. And in the new age, people go into like all the fairies and all that other stuff, the brownies, the gnomes. These are just other timelines, in a sense, or other vibrations that are on the same kind of journey or the same road. And mortal, like in reference to, this is the mortal space. So you can see on the fourth column, it says our mortal solid cells, our mortal feeling cells, our mortal thinking cells. So you can understand that is the mortal solid cells is like nature, your roots, connection to the earth plane. The next space up, your sacral space, where your stargate for the divine feminine, your feeling selves, your connection to a relationship, your connection to your partner, whatever it is, the immortal feeling selves. This is why it's all manipulated through the mainstream. And the next space up, your solar plexus, or our mortal thinking selves. So you think with your willpower, your fire. So what you're doing, your stomach has a mind. Your stomach has just like you have a stomach brain, you have a heart brain, and then you have your actual brain. And these are all like your heart actually has like brain tissue. Same thing goes with your stomach. So this is why individuals are so locked into the meat eating program, because you add density, you add flesh, you add mortality to your brain in your stomach, and you're shutting down another version of yourself. You're shutting down that fire by adding density to your reality. So this is why you're bombarded in every moment. Every commercial is about steak, lobster, shrimp, bacon, beef, hot dogs, everything, McDonald's, Wendy's, everything around you is to get you to think that this is normal. Lock you into what is normal, because that will lock you out of what is natural. And just because you think it's been going on for so long, you make what is normal. You create, like I said in the last video, you make that normal program natural, and then you start to believe it, and you experience your reality based upon what is unnatural, and start to tell that to your kids and send that through the next generations. So this is basically the bridge to your higher self. Your higher self. So for experience, to have a mortal experience, a divine mortal experience, you have to also be experiencing, or at least you have also chosen all of the laws that are part of the mortal world. So at the lowest layer of the mortal world, you have the bridge to the disembodied entities that have severed themselves. This is why it's so extreme. A lot of the times we can't understand why things are so bad, why things have happened like they do. So basically, the next space up is your heart chakra, so the world of peace. So the solar plexus, the world of thought, the world of feeling, your sacral chakra, and the world of flesh, your roots, your connection to nature. This is why nature is being destroyed, because it's you who's being destroyed. The indigenous people's connection to nature as a whole, that is destroying a part of humanity. And if we allow it to happen as such, then this is why I make it such a big deal to expand upon the human story of talking about flat earth and all this other stuff. Flat earth doesn't even matter at all. If you don't tell the human story, if you don't understand the human story, if you don't open up to the human story, what difference does it make? If what's happening on this earth plane, if it's flat, round, triangle, square, it don't matter. If you don't understand the experiencers and the history of it as a whole, which is that is the actual 99.9999% of the entire storyline. The 0.00001% of the flat earth talk is the science and the physical nature, basically like the world of flesh part of it. We still got the world of feeling and the world of thought that is part of this mortal experience. These are the other layers of vibration that are not being paid attention to, largely a lot because a lot of people have prided themselves in discovering the flat earth or all this other shit, whatever comes along, all that other stuff. I mean, when you realize that it's like that, and you see all these other stories, and it really doesn't matter anymore, because there's things we need to do now that we're here, present. So the next row up I was seeing as the heart chakra, and you cannot access this area unless you have healed and have activated your lower bodies. And that is the bridge to the higher self. Your bridge, your heart chakra is the bridge, because once you expand that space, you've now opened up to healing all of your lower bodies, and now tapping into your soul journey. So now you are basically the expression of your higher self in your so-called lower body, walking as your lower body. Everything else is truly the illusion. And this is where you have no fear. You transcend the fear and you start to walk as that love. You start to walk as that compassion. You start to walk as whatever it is that you've come here to do and experience. And this is that world of joy and peace that collectively is being dumbed down when you have the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, and the supremacy program as a whole, and a separating from the indigenous and the aboriginal people. This is the intent here. This is why these storylines are never spoken upon. This is why everything is about the shallow layers. They want you to talk about Colin Kaepernick. Not saying there's anything bad about that, because these are just doorways, because that's just how they slow things down. But these are doorways to the bigger pictures. But just as easily as you can see that it's beneficial to the control grid as a whole to speak about the NFL and a quarterback in the NFL and what he said in reference to the supremacy program and what is happening with the blood on the streets, that is a buffer between what is happening to the indigenous and the aboriginal people all over the world in this moment and for the past centuries. This is how our time gets stolen. This is how expansion gets slowed down. This is how we get locked into a version of reality that is externalized instead of internalized. Once we internalize, it'll make the external storyline seem more obvious. But this is all just as easily as it takes an individual some time to get through to a certain point of expansion. The same thing happens collectively. We're doing this one step at a time. So, the world of joy and peace as the heart chakra, this is when we get into our infinite space, the infinite potential, the infinite timelines of all of our mortal experiences, and the infinite soul expression of your third eye and your soul work that you've been doing in those mortal experiences in your previous timelines. And once you reach that bridge, then you start to activate everything on every level. So the next space up from that is your throat chakra, or the world of unity. So when you start to use your voice to bring together that which is already together, the soul essence. So the angels of beauty and art. So basically utilizing your mortal experience to expand the soul perception of divine beauty and divine art. And you can see in between on the fourth column over, it says our immortal selves, the bridge between the heart and the throat chakra, which is next up from the third eye chakra. So this is our immortal selves, because you are doing work that is of the Most High. There is no higher than that, because you have locked in and connected to what you were never disconnected from, just had the illusion of separation. But you have consciously reconnected with that space, and that is your immortal self work in the world of unity, in your throat chakra, this is what this essence of, this is what your voice is, your music, your art. Whether you paint, that's a voice. That's part of your throat. You're painting what your immortal self is perceiving as your reality. So whether you paint, whether you sing, whether you dance, whether you do ceremony, whatever it is, that is your angelic beauty, your divine art. The next space up from that is the world of creative power, which is your third eye space, and the angels of music. So this is where you start dancing in the harmonics of creation itself. This is where people visualize ayahuasca and psychedelics. And it's kind of breaking me down right now. I'm trying to go into this. You're dancing in the music of everything, all that is. You are interpreting that music into a language. You are interpreting that experience or those journeys into information or healing energies that will help others to transition off through that road into the bridge, into their own immortal selves. And this is your angelic space, your true self, who you are in every moment, your higher self, your higher space. This is who and what you are in every moment outside of the 0.001% of your physical reality. And how I explained it before in previous videos, the distraction and separation program, this is why I said this is not about white or black or anything like that. And like Bobby Hemmett said, this is a spiritual warfare. This is a separation from your divine essence. So when you are locked into the 0.0, if you come in here born at 0.1% and the physical reality, and then you go into elementary school, now you're locking yourself into the physical reality even more. Now you're 0.01%, high school 0.001%, college 0.0001%. You keep separating yourself further and further. You will never sever that connection, but your illusion, your imagination, your lack of imagination locks you into an idea excuse me, of who and what you are. And instead of reconnecting with the worlds of the formless, which is the real, then you start to anchor yourself in the worlds of form and start to the unreal and start to densify your experience. So everything becomes dense, everything becomes heavy, everything becomes, and when you're heavy and dense, you separate yourself. This is the essence of the globe model. It is to lock you into an illusion that is based within an illusion. There's like layers of illusion, and you can't get out of the box of one box of illusion because your peer groups will hold you down. And once you start getting into the heart chakra space and start to clear your lower bodies, then you're starting reconnecting. That is the essence of reconnecting with your creative intelligence, your creative space. That is your most high work. And whether you're doing it individually or collectively, I mean, it's all happening at the same time, but not like people don't have to get out and start, doing YouTube videos and all that stuff to do your most high work. It's whatever it is that you have been equipped over lifetimes to do. Your soul, whatever your soul came here to do, that's what it is. But you won't know until you start reconnecting with your most high space, your creative space. So this is your angel work in a sense. And once you get up to that creative power in your third eye, this is what the ancient Kemetic and the Gnostics were tapping into in those ancient times, which is why all this stuff is demonized and locked away under the British Museum and the university system. All the indigenous storylines and the medicine, the ceremonies, all this stuff is locked away. And you are locked into this artificial version, like I said in the last video, of what your human evolution is. And they're telling you it's all about, merging man with machine. Well, machine is the separation, the further separation of, it's locking you further into the worlds of form. Is going beyond the worlds, the mortal self, the divine machine that your human vessel is, and locking you into like a George Bush machine, some kind of Bill Gates machine, a window to a denser world. Your window to your light body world is through your inner space. That's the world that doesn't want to be perceived or expanded upon. This is why the religions are out there, to put a middleman between you and your most high expression, and also place a body out there to demonize as, well, that's just that stuff and that's just those people, when religion ultimately has nothing to do with spirituality. I mean, you can make an argument about it to the umpteenth degree, but you don't need a religion to be the spirit. You already are that spirit. You already are on that journey. So religion is just placed in there to help people not get on the most positive scale, not be completely lost or completely separated. At least have something. But if you get locked into that space, this is where it goes back to that comfortable space. If you get back into that space, then that's where it starts to get more dense, and you start to lose something. So yeah, that's basically it. I just wanted to share this. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the how I was perceiving this image, and this is the first page of that book. Like I said, when I first read the book, I kind of just looked at it and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, this looks kind of like familiar in some kind of, but I never went into it because the book was just like, read me. So I read it. But I'll share some other books too, once I'm guided to. But if I was going to do any kind of video about any book, this would be the one that I was going to share, and especially because of this image right here, which is obvious to me. So yeah, that's basically it. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.